Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
It is 7 o'clock Central Time, and it is time to rock. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here with CriticalBlast.com, and it is time for the LCS Guys, so let's get right into it. We have with us Michael Tierney from Little Rock, Arkansas. Welcome, Michael, to the show.
Hi, glad to be here.
Also, we have Dave Dyer from Cosmic Comics in Belleville, who is on the road and will be with us as long as he can until he has to leave. Dave, glad you could make it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
You're not behind the wheel, are you?
No, my wife is thankfully.
You're driving somewhere through central Illinois where there's no cell coverage. I can tell you that now. It's going to be enjoyable. And our special guest, Mr. Brian Christgau, man behind the six-string gorilla.
What's up, everybody? I love the fact that you just played that epic intro, and then after that, people get a bunch of like old fat guys who read comic books.
Yes. Well, you know, Elton John became one of us anyway, so.
Hell yeah. You know, you got to preserve your inner 15-year-old. I always say, you know, always keep in mind the difference between childlike and childish.
Yes.
Be one, not the other.
I still wake up and, you know, I forget that I'm not 12 anymore sometimes. And all of a sudden, you know, it's like, oh, my back really hurts. What did I do playing wiffle ball the other day or something? It's like
you get those little reminders. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, we do this to talk about what's going on in the world of comics, both crowdfunding and from a retailer perspective. It has been forever since I've been able to get into a retail store, Dave. I'm sure you've forgotten what I look like, because I only get to St. Louis every 2 weeks now, and then I don't even have time to get over to the shop.
Forever.
I know. I've got to get in there. I finally got to watch, Godzilla versus Kong, and I was thinking about you the whole time. Because I know you're, you know, big Godzilla guy, big Kong guy.
I am.
Me too.
I am. And we just got a bunch of new stuff in that we've been waiting on forever and ever. And it finally came across the ocean or sea or whatever it is. So, yeah, we finally got that.
Yeah, I saw you got that big King Ghidorah.
Yeah. Or, we got the King Ghidorah from the Godzilla Gallery. So that connects with the 91 Godzilla piece. It's beautiful, ginormous piece. And then I got the very large Bandai Rodan, and that thing is huge. And these are all, you know, these aren't for the little collector. This is not for somebody just starting out. This is, you know, they're pretty pricey, but the giant Rodan took me over 2 years to get it. So,
well, yeah, you said this connects to the 1991 Godzilla.
Yeah, the Ghidorah from the Godzilla Gallery, which is put out by Diamond Select Toys, connects to the 91 Godzilla where he's shooting up out of the water. And it's a beautiful piece, and they connect together almost like a puzzle piece.
Okay, but when you say the 91, are you talking about the 91 movie Godzilla version, or did they actually
Yes.
put the statue out in 91?
No,
It's been 20 years.
91 movie version of Godzilla.
Okay, because I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
so
a
that-
long time to wait for the second
Yeah.
part of a statue.
So
Yeah,
that,
it sure
that
is.
piece, that 91 came out in 2019. I ordered the King Ghidorah connecting piece a year and a half ago, and it just now is arriving. So that shows you how screwed up everything has been as far as collectability goes.
Does that complete the thing, or are there more connection pieces?
Those are the only two connecting pieces. And then out of nowhere, 2019 Comic-Con did a Diamond Select Burning Godzilla that connects to the King Ghidorah. So you can either connect the 91 Godzilla or the Burning Godzilla.
Oh, you can switch
and
them
they're
out.
both
From
amazing pieces.
from Godzilla versus Destroya, like when he was like
Yes,
going nuclear.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome.
And they're beautiful pieces. I mean, my God, the King Ghidorah on a wingspan is well over 11 to 12 inches in width. So
That's a lot of shelf space.
That is.
Yeah, yes, you do. And I'm blown away by it. I just am stunned. It was well worth the wait. So
Nice.
See, Brian is somebody that we've got to get into your store for a signing sometime, Dave, because you guys would sit there and talk for the whole 8 hours. You can see his Famous Monsters shirt on and his horror movie posters in the back. And I'm like,
nice.
I told him all about you. I was like, oh, my LCS guy is like all about the Famous Monsters and the Godzilla and what have you. So
I was honestly like, while Dave, while you were talking, my fingers were tingling. I was getting that itch to like run and start popping open toy bins and start taking out my Godzilla collection. I had to resist the temptation. I remember, I think it was at C2E2 2017, I want to say. I picked up one of the Godzillas that was part of the Destroy All Monsters set that they came out with.
Yeah.
And, and it was like, I just had the Godzilla, but evidently you could like, they had the other monsters. I mean, they didn't have them there, otherwise I would have bought them. And you could like connect those too. So I'm assuming this is something similar to that.
Yeah. So these are, I mean, so the Godzilla is shooting up out of the water, and you actually have a battleship, a couple of battleships being tossed off the water. I mean, it's just a beautiful piece. And the Ghidorah that goes, I mean, for any Godzilla fan, this is going to be your centerpiece collection, especially when you have the two connected in there. I mean, the moment I put it out on Facebook, it wasn't even an hour and a half, and somebody came in and bought one of them. So yeah, and so I only had two that came in. I've got two more coming.
Maybe.
So, but I don't know, what's I have no idea how long I'll wait for the other two.
If you're waiting on them from Diamond, definitely maybe.
God, no doubt.
Well, Michael, you don't. You're just doing the mail order stuff for the comics now that you closed down both stores in Little Rock, and
I'm just doing special order only now.
So you don't worry about having to carry the Funko Pops and the Magic the Gathering cards and stuff like that anymore, right?
I don't have to do speculation anymore. No, I just buy what my customers say they definitely want to buy, and I go from there. I don't have to gamble on, is this variant cover? Is anybody going to want it? Put some on the shelf, watch them all sit there. Or if you don't order enough and everybody's, how come you didn't get more? Having to predict what people want months before they even know it, that was always tricky and dicey.
Yeah. Well, that
Still
was
is,
the whole.
Michael.
Oh yeah, it always will be.
That's the whole trick of the.
Imagine. Yeah, that's part of speculation. I wouldn't mess with that for anything.
Well,
Because also people that are into things like Funko Pop heads, they can be very fickle. Then they're not necessarily buying something because they love it. They're buying it because they're speculators and they're thinking, I better grab.
Yeah, I found out I ordered better when I stopped trying to read the books, because that way I just listened to what my customers were saying, just watch their patterns. It didn't matter what I thought was good as far as the title. It was what were my customers' patterns, and that's all you have to do. Just watch your customers and talk to them. Let them tell you what it is to order.
Yeah, because you go by the book, and it's like you're ordering what 3 months in advance now on a title.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
So you've already put your orders in for number 3 of a book before number 1 even gets on the shelf to see if people like it.
right.
Yeah, and then a lot of times, and this is what annoys the bejesus out of me, is final cutoff will come around, and you still don't know whether or not it's going to be a hot title. And then a week before the fucking title comes out, then all the people tell you go collect and key whatever it's called. Then all of a sudden everybody jumps in and goes, oh yeah, this is the one that everybody's going to be looking out after. And then your phone rings off the hook and you're like, dude, I can't order anymore. Final cutoff already happened. Sorry, but you're not going to get the McFarlane cover of Spawn that comes on the Spawn Universe #1. So, and it annoys me.
Yeah.
Understandably, I can imagine how.
Yeah.
I can imagine it must be infuriating.
Oh, it's such a pain in the ass, and then and after, I mean, being in it long enough now, I no longer give a shit. It's like, you know what, you should have been on it. Well, how do I get on it? And I'm like, you got to do the same thing I do. I order. Look, any business owner knows we have to order tight, or you're sitting on a bunch. I'd rather.
Yeah, right.
I always say I'd rather sell out of 6 issues than be stuck with 12.
Right.
So that
You
being
snooze,
said,
you lose.
yeah, I order tight. If you don't, and I always say this and I have a couple of customers that do this. And look, I'm not bitching at these customers. I appreciate every customer I have, but
Of course.
my biggest thing is you can't call me the week before because you just heard about it and expect to get on it. Make a goddamn fucking pull list. Make a pull list.
The pull list.
And if you want that issue, then great, you'll get that issue. But if you don't have it on your pull list, don't expect that I'm going to be carrying an extra fucking 12 copies for the shelf just to satiate your appetite because it's the hot thing right now.
Yeah,
So,
Perch had a video earlier this week I was watching, and I guess he was addressing the myth of the fat stacks of comics. And he's like, because you're not going to see, stacks of comics of a certain issue left over on a shelf because, it would mean that your retailer was an idiot. And I'm like, but I just like, I've been in at least 2 stores where I've been like, yeah, Captain Marvel #1. There's like two stacks of 50 of them right there on the shelf.
Well, doesn't Marvel make LLC owners take a certain amount of those books?
Because variant
covers.
Yeah, what they do is they do all the
that's
covers.
So greasy.
Yeah, and so case in point, Heroes Reborn, and there were a gazillion, like Eternals #1, a gazillion copies, variant copies, and after a while, you just gotta go. You know what? Forget it. I'm not gonna order 50 flipping covers. I'm gonna pick the ones I think will move, and there you go. I mean, it just gets in. Stop the insanity. Marvel and DC, stop the insanity. Knock it off.
Oh, it's too late for that.
Yeah, and
they've already driven off the cliff. They've already.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Dave, but Marvel and DC, they've already driven off the cliff like Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not the only ones.
Yeah, man.
They're not the only ones. The Spawn people and all these companies has stopped the variant copies. Just stop it.
If all the retailers would just everybody order 1 less than the threshold for the variant copy, so that no variant copy goes out. That would send a message to Marvel to cut it out.
Because they're abusing you guys, is what they're doing.
Well, they are. You don't know which one's going to be what. So, Web of Spider-Man, we waited a year and a half for that stupid thing to come out, and I think I got 10 or 12 in, and I sold out of all of them. So, of course, the new Spider-Man crossover or the new one, I totally forget what it's called. I just did the final cutoff on it, and I went ahead and I did 25, so I could get the 1 in 25. And I'm already kicking myself on it, going, why did I do it? But I'm hoping that it's going to be as big as Web of Spider-Man was, but you don't know. You
Well,
don't know.
Do Marvel and DC, and more Marvel than DC does, I think, on this, do they still do the free overship where you order 10 of something and you get 20?
Oh, occasionally they do, but they call that the they don't call it thank you, but they call it just your freebie ones, and then you don't get charged for them. So every once in a while I'll get like maybe 3 extra ones. And it's always on a title I don't want 3 extra ones of.
Of course,
You know?
of course.
I didn't get 3 extras of the Web of Spider-Man. That's the one I would have wanted. So, you know.
And Michael, you're still ordering through Diamond for your redistribution mail order stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or are you going through? Are you going to go through Penguin now that that's the option, or are you going to stick with
we
Diamond?
have to.
Because, yeah, Diamond's going to slash their discounts so much it would be worth. I'd be better to go out of business and there's no margin up of what Diamond's trying to hit us with.
So Diamond's not competing with the Penguin redistribution.
No.
Not giving you.
Not even.
Oh,
close.
No,
well.
yeah.
Slash the
I get cut
discount,
10%.
They want to charge you shipping on top of that.
Wow.
So Diamond is officially done, right?
They've got Dynamite.
No?
They got IDW.
Okay. All right.
They still have the independence.
Because there was so much resentment built up against them over decades that I figured once there was an opportunity to not go through them, they would be shit out of luck, and that the House of Cards would come crashing down like really fast.
I will say that since Steve Jeppy has come back and gotten involved with this company again, they've improved dramatically since they got rid of the previous president and Steve came back and got involved. I mean, they're doing so much better job than they were before. I just wish they'd been doing it back when I still had my 2 store locations. I probably never would have closed them if they taken care of me back then like they're taking care of me now.
Right.
Well,
but
there's
honestly, I see the end of Diamond is happening.
Yeah.
Giuseppe or whatever his flipping name is, he hasn't done in my mind, maybe in Michael's mind, because Michael's been in the business a lot longer. He hasn't done anything for the company. I mean, he lost DC. Everybody's going to jump ship, even though yes, I could still get Marvel through them. I now go from 50% discount to 40%. I'm not going to get it through them, and they're going to charge me for shipping. I don't think so. Where I can go to
runs you like almost
Penguin.
10%. Then you throw in the
where I can go to Penguin
discount. Then they pay with a credit card. There's just nothing left.
Yeah. So you know what? Hell with them. So if they could survive on the independent labels, good for them. But Scout Comics has already gone to Lunar. Believe me, I don't like Lunar much more. They're a crap company. But
good luck with them.
What was that?
I've actually had good luck with them. Very good packing.
See, Lunar keeps shorting me. The Batman Fortnite fiasco pissed me off so much. I ordered 30 copies and I got 8 copies.
Oh wow!
And then I go, "What happened?" And they're like, "Well, we have you on back order." Well, I'll never see them, will I?
Yeah.
Well, the problem there being, that's Lunar though. No, that's Lunar's not owned by another comic company. That was the other distributor that's out of the business. So.
Yeah, Lunar is Midtown Comics, so they take care of the Midtown people.
They are
first.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're Midtown Comics, so they rob from all of us and take care of the Midtown customers, and then what's left they distribute to us. They won't tell you that, but we know that's exactly what's happening.
Disgraceful.
So
that's not how you treat. That's not how you treat your customers.
No, but they don't care. None of these companies care.
Yep.
They don't give a rat's ass.
Speaking
but
of,
it will always come back.
In this industry.
But it will always come back and bite them on the ass. Like I got when somebody gets a package from me, and it's the book arrives and it's maybe like a little bit bent or a little bit scuffed, I send them another copy. Right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, that's the right thing to do. Second, it's the smart thing to do. Even if I were an a-hole and didn't care and was just like, you got a messed up book from me, suck it. Right? Even if I was a jerk, I would still replace the book because it's an investment in your customers. And they're just like, damn, that guy's cool. I got a messed up book, and now I got one minty fresh.
Yeah.
It's but that's the thing. They're very, very short-sighted, aren't they? They don't think long-term, and they don't realize that they can only, push people so far before that rubber band just snaps right back in their face.
Speaking
But,
of, go ahead.
Well, a place like Lunar, I honestly don't think they're ever going to care because no matter what they. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. So no matter what, they're Midtown Comics. They're one of the largest retailers of comic books out there. So they're still, even if the distribution part fails, they're still survive. And that's why they have this I don't give a shit attitude toward anybody. Because they've just gotten too damn big. They've forgotten what customer service is all about.
Well,
Sad.
Speaking of companies with weird customer service, we've got a publisher that's having a collision with the crowdfunding industry. So, Brian, you obviously you don't have to worry about Diamond and the big publisher when you're doing Six Gun Gorilla.
Nope.
But,
Basically, it's one-on-one customer service, and if somebody has a problem with their order, they just have to contact me, and I take care of it. And if their book is late or if it arrives damaged, I'll throw in like a floppy or like some convention flyers or something like that. Something just a little bit extra, just as a apology.
Yeah. Well, we've got a crowdfunded book out here, and Dave, you've seen this one before because we had her on the show. The Pirate Queen. This is Mandy Summers' book.
Yeah.
That she's crowdfunded, and it's getting ready to go into fulfillment. And then just last week, this current week, like a few days ago, Bad Idea comes out with a bad idea, and they've put out a book called Pirate Queen with a Y.
Yeah.
And Michael, you've seen this play out before, so
I feel their pain.
And this is supposedly, I guess, one of the last 5 from Bad Idea because they're
final
going
5.
out of business.
Another stupid idea from Bad Idea.
Bad Idea has been like screwing over you retailers on purpose and to your face with every single thing they've released.
Yeah.
Really, I'm not informed. Could you maybe fill us in, those of us who aren't in on exactly what their transgressions are?
You want to start, Dave?
Sure.
Because you're a Bad Idea carrier.
Bad Idea is made up of, I am one of the carriers. So, which it almost sounds like a disease, but it is in a way. So Bad Idea, made up from the guys who did Valiant Comics, made up of a couple of those dudes. And RJ can tell you their names. They came up with this company, they named it Bad Idea, and they only allowed 200 retailers. So we all had to be vetted. I remember my conversation with them was an hour and a half to become a vendor or retailer of Bad Idea comics.
Wow.
The notion behind it, is 200 stores only. There are no reprints. Instead, they call it not the first print, which is stupid. It's still a reprint.
Right.
And there are no variant covers. But we have to commit to X amount. So if I go, okay, on your first issue, I'll take 20 issues. That has to be my minimum order on everything after that.
God.
Yeah, and then they released for 2021, they have, I don't know off the top of my head, 5 or 6 titles. 6 titles. Some of them are one-shots. Some of them, like ENIAC, which was their very first comic, I think has 4 issues in it. So they've been nothing but a pain in my ass. So what they did is I got in first, and then there's a comic book store an exact mile away from me, and then they allowed them to become retailers of it too. So I'm like, well, so much for exclusivity because you just gave it to my competitor down the street.
After an hour and a half, like vetting, like an interview.
Yeah. they turn around and they also give it not only to me, but my competitor down the street. So there is no exclusivity when we're a mile away from each other. Jesus Christ,
shit.
we all can walk a mile in about, 20 minutes? So, what a bunch of bullshit. So that pissed me off. Then the fact that I get stuck with 20 to 30 titles every time they come out. And of course, nobody wants issue 2, 3, or 4. They all want 1. And then they did this, it just gets so asinine.
You can't sell it on eBay.
Yeah, and you can't sell it on eBay. If you get caught selling it on eBay, you get cut out of the program. You have to sell it for cover price.
Get rid of them.
Yeah, you have to sell it for cover price for the first 30 days. Then after that, you can raise the rates if you want. Well, nobody wants it. It's not even as good as toilet paper at that point. And then they announced the other day that Bad Idea is no longer going to be Bad Idea at the end of the year as we know it. So they always did all these stupid, cryptic emails to all of us. And I'm like, just get to the point. You're not cute. You're not funny. Nobody likes this shenanigans. Just be honest. Well, they're never honest. So they announced that they're going to be over at the end of the year, and then they did this final 5. So they're still going to produce what they said they were going to produce, but now they have 5 issues that are unknown to anybody, and there are 15 issues total, and the pre-order for one day only was $119.85.
Oh my God.
So you were supposed to blindly buy that pre-order. And if you didn't get it, the first 10, they gave you a little sticker that you can redeem for a special. God, guys, it's so pulling my hair out over these guys.
Well, didn't they do that one title also that that had no interest to anybody that I could recall? Something about
24 hours only.
Pizza Detective.
Howard, whatever. Yeah, Pizza Detective.
Oh, that sounds thrilling.
Yeah, and we were supposed to send it back to them the next day on what we didn't sell. Well, I got news to you. Nobody fucking sent them back. So, it's too much work for any retailer should have to deal with. For titles that really, I don't have anybody camping outside my store like I see pictures of on their website. I'm like, well, that must be podunk little town in Indiana or somewhere that that people are doing that. I'm not doing it. So, and then they pull this stuff with this, the pirate thing, which is a total fucking ripoff.
But they spelled it different. You're
they
wrong.
did spell it different, yeah.
You're wrong.
Oh, wow.
Look, see, there's a Y.
Yeah.
Who would confuse those two? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure they even pronounce it differently. They probably say Pirate Queen.
Oh, God. Wow,
or Pirate Queen or something like that.
Bad Idea is exactly that. A bad idea. Horrible company. Horribly run. You know what? If they drop me tomorrow, I don't give a rat's ass.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
One less head.
They just start selling on eBay.
I need this in this industry.
Yeah, Michael's right. Just start selling them on eBay, and then they'll kick you out.
Yeah,
exactly. You're right, Michael. You're totally right.
I didn't even buy it on that bullet. I said, nah. When I read, I didn't even get past opening lines. Like, I'm not doing that.
Well, yeah, you've got it. You're playing it safe. I mean, you're kind of like print to order. You're sell to order. People order it in advance, and then you send it to them and say, "Give me money."
Yeah, of course, I was storefront for like 40 years there, so I've been through it all. And I remember seeing their pitch. I was like, "Nah, no, I'm not going for that."
Well, one of the other, and they've got good writers apparently. I mean, Peter Milligan's not an unknown. Yeah, Peter Milligan, Adam Polina, whose artwork I don't know, and Tamara Bonvillain. They're the team on their Pirate Queen. I don't know. I kind of like Clint Helinski's Pirate Queen over here, but that's just that.
No, and look, the guys that are working for Bad Idea, I'm not saying that they don't put out good comics, but it's just marred by all the bullshit that goes along with it. So, and at the end of the year, guys, it's no longer going to be 200 stores. So I could finally get out, and it's gonna go. It's gonna go distributed widely through Diamond. So, this was just a ploy for 1 year. At least that's what we all speculate is going to happen.
Yeah, it's unusual that a company does a ploy for 1 year. That the whole company is the 1 year ploy, rather. We're used to Marvel doing a ploy for 1 year. Right now, they're doing a dinner party for a year.
Exactly.
With that Hellfire Gala, Mike, you getting any orders for Hellfire Gala up down in Little Rock?
Not really. No.
Nobody's wanting to read it.
Yeah, nobody's signing up. I set up the Marvel previews and this and that, but nobody signs up for these spinoffs anymore. The big crossover events like that. It's just maybe get one or two guys who will sign up for everything, and that's it.
What about you?
I mean, are they still doing like the crossover events every 6 months, like they were they were? Because I mean, they really. I mean, well, I mean, it's just like I could understand when they were doing event books and it was every couple of years or every 5 years or something like that, right? You have something like Crisis on Infinite Earths, or you have something like Secret Wars, which was garbage, hot garbage, but you didn't have one of these happening every 6 months. And imagine being a writer. I imagine myself being a writer working for Marvel and DC, and I'm doing my thing and I'm telling a story and I've got an arc, and now I somehow have to work whatever BS event they have, crossover event, I have to shoehorn that into my story.
An episode
it's insane.
Maybe, yeah.
That was Peter David's complaint all the time, was that he'd have these long arcs planned out, and then all of a sudden somebody would give him last minute notice that, hey, you have to make your story fit this event, and he's like, the boss have to do it, but it doesn't. It totally interrupts the flow of the story.
But you take the man's money, so you do the man's work. It's just I think for Ed Brubaker, I think during his Daredevil run, I think it was Devil on Cell Block D, right? Where it was Daredevil, it was Matt Murdock and the Punisher and Kingpin, and then a Bullseye got thrown into the mix, and they had to do a prison break. This was during Civil War, the first Civil War. And they handled that nicely because they just had Iron Fist pretending to be Daredevil.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's okay, all right. That works, because then you see Daredevil in the Civil War comic, you don't know that it's actually Danny Rand, right? You assume that it's Matt Murdock, but then Brubaker got to finish his story unmolested. But I think that's the exception to the rule.
Even that's a bit of a
creative environment.
They've done that for forever. It's like, oh look, Bruce, I have proof that Clark Kent is Superman, and then there's Clark Kent shaking hands with Superman in front of a camera, and you go behind the scenes, and he's like, thanks, Bruce, for standing in for me anytime, Soups.
Yeah, but that stuff is fun. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That stuff is fun, and the stuff that they're doing now is not fun.
That's boring.
And
you're right.
It's boring as hell.
Yeah. They're so busy trying to get serious that they forgot, comic characters used to smile on the covers, and readers had fun with stuff. I mean, you were excited about things. Nowadays, they drag stories out too long. I always said there's an expiration of expectation. Don't drag any secret plot line out for more than a year. If you can't get a resolution within a year, it's not going to work. I mean, the Red Hulk, by the time people found out who the Red Hulk was, nobody cared. Because it was 3 years.
Nobody cared.
I think I've said this before too. If a character's got a mystery about them that lasts longer than 3 issues, then the mystery is part of their character forever. Otherwise, we don't want to know. If we didn't know who Logan was after 3 issues of knowing that he was an amnesiac berserker, we went 20 years. We were happy. We liked it. That was part of who he was. We don't know who the Joker was. We don't want to know now. It would ruin it if we found out.
Doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. The thing that drove me crazy was when they were hinting that Mystique was Nightcrawler's mother, and I was just right. And I was just that went on forever. I had already stopped reading comics at that point. You know, it's terrible, man. But you know, those are minor gripes as opposed to like what they're doing now, which is just suicidal, really. You know,
Yeah.
they've
It's-
lost all their old fans, and they're not getting any new ones because guess what? All of
No.
those Twitter Karens, they don't read comic books. They don't read
Yeah,
comic
the
books. The people
whole-
who are dictating what goes into the comic books don't read comic books.
And the people who are editing them don't love comics.
No.
No.
If anything, there's a little bit of contempt there. I would say certainly contempt for the audience, right? Because you know, once we don't like the crap that they're putting out, they call us all kinds of names, alt-right Yahtzees and such. You know, it's like, no, I don't have a problem with diversity. No, I don't have a problem with, you know, LGBT characters or whatever. I have a problem with you taking subtext and making it the text.
Yeah.
And
every
taking
single time.
right, they put the cart before the horse every single time,
Yeah,
and they
do
wonder
it-
why
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
And they do it, you know, the entire whole spectrum of all their titles. They don't say, okay, well, we're going to do this in one book. That's for that audience. We're going to leave the other audience their books. No, everybody's got to read the same thing, and
Yep.
it doesn't work. It alienates the
No.
readers. I mean, you can't just say, okay, we're going to focus on this one really tiny niche group, and everybody else is going to read that, because if you don't, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
This doesn't work.
They don't know how to chase a new audience without entirely ostracizing the old audience. So they
Right.
can't expand. They just switch, and they switch all at once. It's like
And they're not
leave
doing
their belts in
anything
the lurch.
Yeah, because you know they completely don't want kids to read. I mean, Marvel doesn't even try to make all ages comics anymore. And really, all they need to do to make an all age comic is keep writing the same books they are right now. Just you know, maybe leave a little to the imagination as far as the violence and the sexuality, and just
Right.
do what they did when you and I were kids. And you know, if somebody wants to curse, just put the pound exclamation
Right,
sign,
right.
you know, and we'll fill in the word.
Yeah,
my
your
son
your
used to
mind
curse like
fills it
that.
in as you're reading it. Really?
My son used to curse like that when he was mad. When he was like 7, he'd be at the table. He'd get mad and he'd say, "Exclamation point squiggle!" And I'm like, "What?" and he picked it up from from the Archie comic books, because that's where they would.
Fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Asterisk.
Oh,
That's
boy,
right.
That's great.
That's too wild here.
That's great.
You're really in trouble.
But I thought it was funny that he would do that when he was cursing. Of course, if Marvel and DC continue down this path and they go extinct, Dave has sort of future-proofed his store against that, because you're real big on the independents and getting those into the store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is your audience, if Marvel and DC went away tomorrow,
Okay.
would you have the same customer base for the independents and the Godzilla stuff? Dave's got the biggest Godzilla store sales, by the way, this side of the Mississippi.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm the largest retailer of Godzilla in the Midwest. So, but yeah, to answer your question, RJ, yes, I think I have conditioned our customers. I had a guy the other day goes, "Dave, what can you recommend that came out this week?" And everything outside of actually that was independent too, was the Jupiter Rising Requiem. I put that in his bag because I still want to give that one a shot, because I found the show interesting, even though it got canceled already.
Yeah.
I thought it was on the right track. It's too bad it got canceled.
I liked it too.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. But yeah, everything else I put in his bag was all independents. So, and he looked at it, he's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, you got to give this one a shot and this one a shot. And there was one called the Seven Swords that just came out. It's independent. It's a swashbuckling tale with a swashbuckler that looks like Keanu Reeves. So you can't go wrong there. It's like
Story.
ever since Berserker, everybody in the comic books now look like Keanu Reeves. So
It's funny how that works. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of independent titles, here's one that you guys won't find in the Diamond catalog. This
Definitely
is
not.
yeah, this is Brian's
Or
book.
Comixology.
Yeah, six gun gorilla. This is what number?
love
What
it.
number is this one? Number
This is
what?
number 8. This is
Number
number
eight.
8. Yeah.
awesome.
Except usually when we do Indiegogo campaigns, the rules are always changing, but the rule has been that you don't name the campaign like Six Gun Gorilla number 8. You put in like the title of the story. Now, the title of every issue has been of this series has been taken from a Italian Western, which I'm, a subgenre I'm very fond of. And
Beautiful. Me too.
Right?
A gorilla
not
with
that I
no
don't
Hell
love
yeah.
John Ford, and not that I don't love Howard Hawks and all those
Exactly.
cats, but my goodness, Leone and Corbucci and
Yep.
Salima
Yep.
and all those cats. My goodness. So I took the title from Cemetery Without Crosses, which was actually written by Dario Argento, of the Giallo fame, Suspiria,
Yeah.
that sort of a thing. And each and every time when I've looked for a title, I've found one that fits that issue perfectly.
Well,
And when
can you drop the elevator pitch for the retailers here, Brian, so they know what Six Gun Gorilla is about?
Oh yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? Yeah. It's
Yes,
a very big ape with very big guns, blowing very big holes, and very bad people.
Love it. Love it.
And it's despite the picture here, this is a cover by somebody who you probably recognize the inspiration for the cover there, folks.
Yeah.
But it's actually an Old West story, and the Six Gun Gorilla was a circus gorilla who was trained from an infant to be a trick shot, and they made special guns to fit his giant hands. And then if I've got the story right, he sees his owner killed, and now he's on his own in the Old West.
Well, not his owner, his father, his adopted father, because he gets he sees his entire gorilla troop family wiped out by a big game hunter at the beginning of the story, or by a Alan Quatermain type, and he's the sole survivor. And it's like, oh cool, baby gorilla, this has got to be worth something. So he puts him on board the ship, and the ship is headed towards England, and who should be aboard but a certain Professor Malloy, who's really a professor of bullshit more than anything else, like a carnival barker type. And he has his little daughter with him, and she sees the little baby gorilla looking very sad, and she tugs on his coat and is like, Daddy, can I keep him? And so he wins him in a card game by cheating, naturally, and raises him as one of the family, because he's very unusually smart, very let's say above average gorilla intelligence. And being a member of the family, being a member of a circus family, naturally he has to learn a trade. And so he is trained by the trick shot artist that they have, who we meet later on in issue number 6. And then of course they have to make the giant guns for him, and he becomes an absolute sensation, because who wouldn't want to see a gorilla blasting beer barrels out of the air with like giant howitzer cannons?
No doubt.
And then and then he sees his adopted father murdered in front of him, and he snaps. And goes after the people who are responsible, and that ends up taking him on a much bigger, much wider adventure. Basically, I wanted to start the story out small and intimate, so you really get to know the characters. You really come to feel for them, and then it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing in scope, until finally in the last 2 issues it's going to get almost like James Bond levels.
So will this quickly, because I got to run, guys. I'm already at the party.
Sure.
And I feel rude.
That's okay.
So you got 2 more issues after number 8, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So then will you be putting this out in a trade paperback, the whole story?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I want to bring this into the shop. You won me at Gorillas, because I'm a huge King Kong fan. I am a ginormous Planet of the Apes fan. I already love the artwork. Who's the artist, by the way?
That's a little bit of a sad story. The artist here is Adrian Sibar. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. And unfortunately, every victory that we have going forward with this book is going to be a little bit bittersweet because Adrian's not going to be there
sorry to hear that.
to enjoy it. Yeah, he was a beautiful guy, an incredibly talented artist. He finished 10 issues of pencils before he passed away. And my friend Preston Acevedo, who is an awesome guy and also incredibly talented, agreed to step in and wrap the series up.
Preston's the one who did this Iron Maiden cover.
Yes, because wow. And the story behind that is that somebody told him that he couldn't do it. I'm not gonna mention who that person is, but it's somebody very, very prominent in the comics crowdfunding scene. And he was just like, yeah, like that Iron Maiden painting, yeah, you couldn't do that. And so he talked me into doing this as a variant cover, so people can get the original cover, which is by Adrian. That's the last finished piece of Six Gun Gorilla art that he did, and it makes me happy every time I see it because it's so cheerful.
It's good art. Yeah.
Oh God, he was just and he was just he was a sweetheart of a guy, and he was just fun to work with. It's like my friend Preston says, when you're doing a comic book, you have two storytellers. And so you want to have really good synergy where it's like, you kick the ball back and forth, and he makes changes, and then I kind of make changes off of his changes. But yeah, sorry, Dave, I don't want to keep you if you're
No. I tell you what, let me scoot out, but you and I will talk very soon. I definitely want to carry the trade paperback. It's beautiful. Now, are you guys thinking about on the trade at least having both covers on it, or like maybe the inside being the new cover? I mean,
the trade's a way out there, isn't it? I mean,
and I'm like, yeah,
I
want both covers.
Right. Well, there is an option here, and I'm not doing trade paperbacks for this particular campaign because it was too confusing last campaign where people were like, wait a second, how come the trade paperback, because that's what I started out with, was a trade paperback with the first 6 issues. Like, how come like one comic is like $40 or $35 and the other one is $15? I'm just like, well, because the trade paperback is 6 comics. And so this time around, I was like, no trade paperbacks for this particular campaign. But there's no reason I can't always order more if you want to put them in your store.
Good.
And you do have all 8 issues available on one of these tiers.
All 8 paperback. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, dude, shoot me your address. I'll shoot you a free. I'll shoot you. I contribute a copy.
Yes.
There you go.
A review copy.
RJ, shoot me the info, and I'll get a hold of you on Monday then. Yeah.
All right. I'll get you both connected.
Hey guys,
have fun at the party, Dave.
Thank you. Much love to everybody. Yeah,
Peace
be
out,
well,
Dave.
everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Peace out. Be safe.
So yeah, that's Six Gun Gorilla, and the reason why I just interviewed Brian last week, and the reason he's on here so quickly again was we talked about crossovers with characters, and because a lot of the independent people are like, hey, how about our characters meet up? And because they're not DC and Marvel yet, they're like, yeah, that'd be great. Let's work out a script, and they do it. And Brian said there's only one character that he really wants to cross over with his Old West 1850s super gorilla, and that he didn't know anybody else who could make it happen. And that character happened to be Tarzan of the Apes. I'm like, I know a guy.
Yeah.
Because I told him, I was just like, yeah, like my secret dream. It's just like, maybe one of these days, Six Gun Gorilla versus Tarzan in Pellucidar.
And Mike, you want to tell him what you do?
Oh yeah, I also did a lot of independent publishing. I did a huge 4-volume art chronology of all the publications of Edgar Rice Burroughs, both in the pulps, the hardcovers, the paperbacks,
Oh.
the comic books in the U.S. and the U.K. And also, before I even did that, though, I finished a short story because I was friends with Danton Burrows. And he said, "Man, I got this short story that nobody knows how to finish it out. It's a Tarzan. It's like a Jungle Tales that Burrows started, and he never completed it. And the reason nobody else ever knew what to do with it because they thought, oh, well, this is going to buzz canon because it's got the apes sitting around talking about, hey, did you hear about this, white captive with blonde hair over at the native village?" And the story stops there. Well, everybody knows that Jane is the first, white blonde person that Tarzan ever met. And so, like, well, nobody knew what to do with the story. I said, well, I know what to do with it, and I know how to do it and not break canon. So I wrote
Nice.
that, but then Danton died tragically, and everybody at the Burroughs Inc. replaced him. They didn't even know about this. And so I kept pitching, like, hey, why don't you let me do something with this while we were working on the chronology? You're like, oh, you're our chronology guy, this and that. Well, then I started, pitching, like, hey, let me write the Beyond the Farthest Star online strip, for you. And they're like, oh, you're our chronology guy. Well, so I just sent him a few samples. And when he got the scripts of the first few sample stories I wrote for the episodes of Beyond the Farthest Star, man, we had a deal that day. And so then
That's beautiful.
Yeah, he loved it. He said, "Man, where'd you come up with these ideas? And are these original ideas?" Like, yeah. And but at the same time, I stayed faithful to the original material. I kept all Burroughs' stuff integral, and any flaws or any problems, I came up with a story to explain it away. Kind of like what I did with the young Tarzan. And but I kept pitching, let me do something with this. Finally, said, yeah, go ahead and do something. And they kept saying, well, you need to take more money. It's like, no, we'll split 50-50. But they weren't realizing that this was Burroughs. I kept telling them. And finally, they were doing the contract. I'm like, now you realize Burroughs wrote the first part. They're like, what? And they finally connected. So we had to change the contract at the last second, handwritten notes all over before we executed it. And it's done real well for Christgau. It's one of their better things there. And
that's wonderful.
So I wrote a story in collaboration with Edgar Rice Burroughs. That was
kind of so it's like you and Joe R. Lansdale, and that's it. Like you're in that special club. Oh,
yeah.
Salutations, sir. That's so awesome. That had to have been a thrill.
It was. Now I tried to read Joe's book. I didn't get through it because I just kind of flipped through it, and he would start using modern colloquialism. This I was like, no, I'm going to write mine where I'm going to write like Burroughs. And all the reviews were great because people kept saying, oh, okay, they all thought that my part was Burroughs and Burroughs' part was mine. So I guess what
you can't ask for a better ask for a better compliment than that.
Yeah, they thought I was more like Burroughs than Burroughs did. So that was nice.
Wow. That's something that's like a little trophy or a medal you should be carrying around with yourself for the rest of your life. It's pinned on your heart, I could tell.
And actually, I have written a new Tarzan novel, kind of modernizing it for modern readers, and I turned it in June of last year. But they've been so busy launching this whole, authorized Edgar Rice Burroughs library. That was an idea I kept pitching to them. Hey, look, me and this other guy, we'll publish these things for you. You got to have your own editions out. Well, they decided to do it themselves. Well, they're so busy on that. They've had that new Tarzan novel I wrote for them sitting since June of last year and haven't read it yet. So I think that's going to be something that would really knock a few hats off too. But you got to give them
awesome.
before we can do anything with it. So I may even have more stuff coming out down the line there.
Oh, but congratulations, sir.
Oh, thanks. Now, as RJ knows, I also do my own writing and publications and different stuff like that. I've got a series I've written since the 70s called Wild Stars. And I've got the 5th volume of that right now is being serialized in Christgau magazine. And just a couple of weeks ago, I sold him the 6th novel of it, which is going to be serialized in every episode of next year. So I've got Christgau going to be carrying my Wild Stars for the rest of this year. And that'll be the last episode. I mean, there'll be 4 issues. I won't be in the very last one this year, but then I'll be in all 4 of the episode or issues that they do next year. So my Wild Stars will be in 7 out of 8 straight Christgau magazines.
Oh, that's fantastic. What genre is that in?
It's very science fiction, but it's also very multi-genre. It's like I did it as a series of comics first, and I almost did like each individual comic like its own genre, each little standalone story. But at the same time, when you put them all together, you got a full story. Like RJ wrote a great review. And this is exactly what I was going for, and I loved it when he wrote this in his review, where he said, by the middle of the story, the reader will be convinced he's on a runaway literary freight train that's constantly laying fresh track down in front. But by the time it wraps up with a twist that would make Holmes or Watson, like a twist worthy of a Sherlock Holmes mystery, or to stupefy Watson at the end. And it all wrapped up at the end with a little twist, and that's exactly what I was doing. So I also called it Time Travel Twice Told. I tell the story once in long form, and then I repeat it again at the very end in short form in case people didn't get it in the long form.
Right.
Yeah, you got to catch them up on all the. It's sort of like what they used to do with Leverage, which was a show I used to love to watch. Is like, you watch it for 55 minutes, and you can't have no idea how they pulled the trick off, and then it's like the last 5 minutes are like going back and hitting all the scenes where the things are happening. You're like, oh, I see.
Yeah, the foundation was laid. Yeah.
Now there's another little trick I did in my first Wild Stars, which I put all the comics together into one big book called the Book of Circles, and that the whole book was written in the format of an American football game. It starts with a pregame talk, begins with a whistle, and ends with a gunshot by a man wearing a striped shirt, and then goes into a sudden death overtime. That's the Twice Told part.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I like the conceit that you use to go from comics to novel without breaking. Is like, it was the whole they even talk about it in the novel, why the former was all comic book, because it was all like a video archive to them.
Yeah, well, one was the first one, the Book of Circles, that was all a telepath kind of gathering. She's been part of a group that's trying to figure out how to take down these this race of immortals, and so she kind of creates what she calls her Book of Circles, where she'll get like one side of the story of these people from one person, another person. She kind of assembles it all in one big narrative in her head. It's kind of like a dossier of file on these people. And then in the second book, it was half comic and it was half fiction. Well, that one, the half that were comics were actually like security video used in a court-martial trial, and the rest of it was telling you the rest of the story around it. So yeah, I kind of split it in.
You made this transition, and you explained why the transition happened.
Right, exactly. So there was a reason why it started out on comic format and then switched to text later.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. That's the thing, man. Is I'm such a sucker for the pulps. I really am. It's they really don't get enough credit. If that's the right word. They're not treated, and I'm not saying that they should be treated like very, very deeply seriously, but my goodness, I'm just a fan of classical storytelling. But of course, then, once you have that down, then you can start to play around. The problem is, I think very often with a lot of writers these days, is they don't realize that they have to learn the rules before you can break the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I love the pulp storytelling. I listen to a lot of the pulp detectives on the radio. I've got the old time radio station tuned in, so I'm listening to Sam Spade and Philip Marlowe, and it's like, this is good.
Of course, yeah, those are great. Oh, and the Philip Marlowes, of course, those are great.
Absolutely.
I love the old radio shows too. It's really kind of sad that that's not much of a medium anymore. I mean, every now and then you get something like that. Like I remember the audiobook version of Max Brooks's World War Z, which has nothing to do with the film. With the film, they just bought the rights just to have the title.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Right. And the novel itself is structured, each chapter is an interview with somebody who was a survivor of the zombie war. And so they each tell their story, and they each are from like a different part of the globe. So you get to experience what they experienced. And for the audiobook, he had a great cast. He had Mark Hamill, he had Henry Rollins, he had Jürgen Prochnow, he had like a bunch of people. Like because his father is Mel Brooks, so evidently he has connections.
Yeah, he knows people.
He knows peeps, right?
Yeah.
And I remember listening to it after reading the novel, and I was just like, this is wonderful. It had that feeling of an old-time radio show, minus the sound effects, and people, the doors opening and closing, and the gunshots, and the shoes. Yeah, but you hear that stuff in those old shows too. They're just there's something charming about them. And I think people that haven't explored those are missing out in a big way.
Well, one of the things
Well-
I've got going on with my Wild Stars is I've got a definite finish to it. I mean, it's going to be 12 novels. I didn't tell anybody until I got the sixth one turned in that this is planned for 12 books. I mean, you don't go 1 or 2 books and say, yeah, I've got another 10 of these to go. But now that I'm at the halfway point, I start telling everybody there is a finite ending that people will see have been being set up since the very first pages of the comics. I mean, there's an ending I've been setting up and just add all the elements and just get them all into place. Everything's been prepped up, because I do a lot of foreshadowing. And so, whenever something happens, people always talk about how I'll pull the rug out from under them and do something unexpected. When they go back and look, it's been set up. It's not just
Exactly. Because this is why I always tell people who are new writers, whatever you do, make sure that you have your ending. Start with your ending, because it's much easier. Like when you're a kid and you got the Marvel Fun Book, which I have around here someplace, and you have like the little mazes, and it was always much easier to go backwards.
Even though it's the same path.
Yeah, you got to know where you're going to end up at. Yeah, and then
and that doesn't mean that then you are absolutely committed to that ending, because then people were like, well, I don't want to be restricted. You can change it. As the story develops, maybe you're like, yeah, you know what, that's not the right ending, but you will that way you will never paint yourself into a corner, because there's nothing. I never feel more embarrassed for a writer when I see that they've painted themselves into a corner.
Yeah,
but
it's fun to get out that way. What was it? Go ahead.
I wrote about several Wild Stars novels, and some of them I submitted to different editors, and all of a sudden I started seeing those ideas pop out of the places. The one that's coming out next year is one I wrote, that I never submitted to anybody, and I've never seen those ideas show up anywhere. So it's been sitting on my shelf for over 40 years. As I knew this took place at a point, so I knew what my ending was. It's okay. I got this other novel. I'm going to get to that eventually. Well, I just got to it. When we had those bad ice storms in February, I just spent the whole month just going through it and editing it up and changing it all up. Originally, it was like 110,000 words, and I boiled it down to 75,000, and that's with new framing sequences for the front and back, just to make it as tight as could be. Because when I first wrote it, I was moving from Kansas to Arkansas, and I found out I repeated myself a lot of times explaining things. So I was going through I can put these 5 pages into one paragraph, or I've already said that 2 or 3 times already. I don't need to say that again. And I just boiled it down to where it was just a nice, tight story. But all these elements and all these plot ideas I had that back then were really crazy and radical. Well, they're still kind of new and, not quite maybe quite as crazy and radical as they used to be, but nobody's done anything like them because I never showed them to anybody. And so it all still remains. But at the same time, this is something I've been setting stuff up, in these earlier books to get to this book. So I keep going forward and backwards as I reveal things in the past that explains what's going on in the present and in the future.
Right.
I've got all these different timelines all going on at the same time.
I'm waiting to see how book 12
changing the past, basically, or changing your perception of the past. I'm sorry, you were saying, RJ?
No, I'm just waiting for the last bit of book 12 in Mike's series to see if it takes me right back to the beginning of book 1. Be kind of like the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed, which was
right.
That's how the whole gunslinger series started and ended.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. Now, the comics. When were the comics published? Have you thought about maybe doing like a crowd? Oh, I'm sorry, I just was asking you another question while you were answering. My apologies, sir.
Oh, no problem. I was doing these before they had such things as crowdfunding or internet or any of that stuff. I mean, even before you even had computers, I had to do everything by hand, including hand lettering, and all that was a pain.
My
I did my first one like in '84, and then I did a portfolio a couple years later. Again, kind of expanding the story and telling the backgrounds on it. And then I did another comic in '88. There were some things going on in the '90s that kept me from publishing like I wanted to. So I novelized what the next story arc was going to be. And then in 2002, then I adapted that novel called Under the Wild Stars into the Volume 3 comics of 1 through 7, and with the 7 being like a triple-sized final issue. And it was nice to get the whole story out. And then had a spinoff that I'd started called Force Majeure, Prairie Bay. Well, then my artist disappeared on me like 6 pages into book 2 of a trilogy. So I had to come up with a way to explain, still use the artwork, but kind of explain away. That's like, these are video evidence, and I'll novelize the rest of it. So I wrapped an 82,000 word novel around the previously published comic and the other 6 pages and unpublished, and then just kept on writing new novels after that.
Oh, that's
Bill-
beautiful.
Oh, no. To get to the point
That's
where I
the.
finally connected with another novel that I wrote a long time ago.
Oh wow. That shows a commitment and dedication to your craft. If
Yeah.
you're ever interested in crowdfunding, hit me up because I can introduce you to a wonderful scene of people. The crowdfunding community that I'm part of is incredibly special. It really is. There are some really wonderful people there, and what I love is that with the mainstream, not only are there gatekeepers, but the people inside the gate are like backstabbing each other. And
Oh, wow.
in this indie crowdfunding scene, it's the exact opposite. We're all
cool.
trying to help each other, and the door is always open. Right?
Well,
So we're not
I
just
just have
gatekeepers. We're just like we're pushing the door open and going, "Hey, come on in. It's fun in
oh,
here."
cool.
And it's funny because some of us are pissed off now because we're just like, man, I don't think my campaign's doing as well because there's just like a billion books out there. But it's like
It's still a competitive market.
exactly. And if anything, that makes somebody like me who's on his third campaign, a little bit more on his toes, and that's not a bad thing. And the people, of course, who always end up profiting are the backers. But
That's what it should be.
people,
Yeah.
which is the way it should be. And I'm a backer myself too. So, I always prefer getting just like a thicker book possibly rather than all the bells and whistles. Like now, a lot of people will put in cards, and let me see, where are my crowdfunded books? Oh, they're right here.
Oh. You bought a few of them.
Oh yes.
We're gonna give you the big screen.
All right. God, got a lot of these actually. Oh, this was a really nice book by Jeff Lafferty called The Berserkonaut.
This is the 90s all over again, Mike, as far as a lot of this crowdfunded stuff goes.
It really is. It really is. I'm more of an 80s guy, right? But Jeff's an interesting character because the medium that he did these in, these pages, these really beautiful pages, was paint. Yeah, that's a good shot of Cyborg Frankenstein right there. Right?
So you're talking about like acrylics.
Acrylics, but you know what the medium was acrylics, but it was on cheap copy paper.
Oh, wow.
Because he said he didn't want it to be anything precious. Right? Look at that. It's beautiful, beautiful painted art. Right? So
that's phenomenal looking stuff. I mean, it looks a lot better than this than this IKEA diagram stuff we've been getting from Marvel lately.
Oh God. I know. Or the Ninjak thing. Have you seen the Ninjak thing?
I have seen the Ninjak thing. It looks like they tried to make Ninjak and turn him into like Samurai Jack, which I like Samurai Jack, but it's not.
But that ain't it. Ninjak isn't Samurai Jack, or vice versa. But yeah, people are putting in like little prints. Like this is for my friend Rob Muerto's book, but also people are coming out with cards and bookmarks and all this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Or sketch cards. Those are really cool. But so when you're ordering a comic book, you can get a original work of art with it. And that's from my man Preston. Oh yeah, this is another thing for Sunsworn. My friend Red Gaze released this as a novel, and he's the very first person in our group to take things multimedia, which is to say to do a novel, and had a very, very successful campaign. He's also doing comic books for that universe, but the comic books aren't adaptations of the novels. They sort of fill in the spaces between them. And so, but it's a really wonderful. This is like a special time and opportunity. I think most of us know that the crowdfunding model probably isn't sustainable. It's going to change at some point.
Yeah.
But right now, it's it's a great time to get in. So if you're curious, hit me up, and I can just put you in touch with the right people. There are also people who have a lot of shows dedicated to promoting other indie creators. And the most exciting thing, I have to say, the thing that's given me the greatest satisfaction has been the fact that a lot of people have been watching what we're doing, and then they throw their hat in the ring. Because it's like they're kind of like, they're a little scared, or they're a little, or they've never done this before, but then they look at us and they're like, oh geez, that dude doesn't look too bright, and he's pulling it off.
It's a real indie renaissance, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, I have
yeah.
done a few, Kickstarters. Couple Kickstarters and Indiegogo, because Crocodile Publishing, did some of my earlier Wildstar novels in Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and they were quick sellouts. They did well. The chronology I did of Edgar Rice Burroughs, they did that one on Kickstarter, and I mean it got like nearly just barely missed 100,000, so it did real well. And
that's fantastic.
One's supposedly going to be coming up here in August. That's going to be a Robert E. Howard art chronology, and so I'm just up to my teeth working on that thing right now, trying to get it knocked out.
I ask you this every time, Michael, but I'm going to ask you to do it again. Can you give him an appreciation of the enormity of the Edgar Rice Burroughs art chronology, so that he knows what the Robert E. Howard art chronology is going to be something like?
Oh my God!
And I'll give you the big.
Oh my God! Oh wow!
We're talking
it's a cinder block.
Every magazine cover, every comic book cover that Edgar Rice Burroughs properties had.
Wow. So all the Frazetta stuff, I'm assuming, is in there.
Yeah,
especially
when you did the Kickstarter, you got some, like you talk about the bonus items. You got like maps.
Oh hell yeah!
Is that a map of Pellucidar?
That one was a map of Mars.
Nice.
I think. Hold on.
Yeah, it says Mars.
Yeah, that was Mars. This one is the map of Pellucidar, and then we had posters, different comics and different things like that. A set of cards, and at one point, the Burroughs people wanted me to put like copyright on certain ones. I said, well, you realize we're going to make a deck of marked cards. We do that. We don't do it on some and don't do it on all. So we got that fixed. So got cards that you can actually play with, and then the thing moved around here. The first one is all the pulps. And so I give you every pulp. And this was when I really had to put a lot of time of work into it, because I took some of these original pulp covers and restored them to where they look like when they were brand new.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I put like 40-hour weeks into single images. I mean, there's so many times I'd work on something at 4 a.m. or get up at 4 a.m. to go back to work on it again. The second one, and this is probably the best reproduction of this Frazetta image, because this was done from a high resolution of the original painting hanging on the walls of Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc. And this has all of the books. And, so I go and I give you the whole history of them, by cover, by artwork, from the U.S., the UK, all the different editions done. Then I go to the paperbacks, all the different editions. And, it was a ton of work to collect all that stuff.
Oh my God! Are you ever releasing these again?
Well, they're for sale still. We still got some copies.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and I think actually the publisher, they were $250. I think the publisher actually got them on sale right now for $225.
Is that a Cursova?
No, this is from Chenault and Gray.
Wow.
And,
and it's especially interesting to see, for people that aren't familiar with pulp art, it's always interesting to see how characters like Tarzan, or how Conan was depicted in the very early Weird Tales and that sort of a thing. And you see how these
Tarzan, he's been around since the early days of the newspaper strips, all through the comics. I went through a whole bunch of different publishers as the years went by. And I show you every cover, and then when you get to the modern ones, I show you all the variations that they do of variant covers. I show you everything. Now that was all the U.S. American Tarzan comics, and then the fourth one, the final volume, I give you all the other characters.
Oh wow!
In the U.S. And actually, John Carter and Pellucidar for the second stories he had published, the Tarzan stuff, he
Correct.
did that later. And so I give you all the different stuff that he did on those. And of course, this one's almost like the mature readers one because got so many Dage of Thor's variants that.
Oh wow, yeah.
They knew how to sell a
And
book.
European ones too, right? So
yeah. When you get over into the UK, I mean, the UK loved their Tarzan. It was a weekly comic, so a lot of these were made with photos from the movies that have never been shown here in America. So I give you everything, all the UK comics, and there were actually more UK comics than there were American comics over here. Now,
really,
the Robert
that's
Copper
amazing.
the same format, but it's going to be not nearly as much UK because the UK was just very light. Now over here is another volume if you like my Wild Stars. You can catch up. Now this is not everything. This does not include book 5, which is running now, or book 6, but this has the first 4 books, everything together, and you got a great wraparound cover by Ant Knox.
Wow.
And he did the cover and this has got everything, including all the comics, and in the back, it's also got a navigational map of all the names, characters. So you ever get lost, you go to something, it'll say, okay, this is who this guy is, this is how he connects. Yeah, but you don't.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, you don't want to read too far because you get to a point where you know what's going on. You want to stop because all of a sudden you start getting spoilers. And then,
right.
Well, one other thing here for you.
But you can see how big the. Do you think the Howard book is going to be as big as the Burroughs book? I mean, I don't know how many.
Yeah, maybe even bigger.
Okay.
Really?
And then this is what we were talking about earlier.
Well, that's Tarzan and the Mysterious She.
Yep.
Oh wow. Yes, which you told me about. Yes, RJ. And because I asked him at first, I was like, the Mysterious She. I'm like, wait a second, is H. Rider Haggard getting like brought into this? Is it like a crossover? But
people might think that, but yeah,
right.
Is the who is this blonde-haired white woman that the Native Americans see? So
terrific. Oh, dude, I feel like seriously, just looking at those pages as you were flipping through, I just felt like a big kid.
Well, I just put the link to Amazon.
But that's why we do this stuff too.
Yeah.
We love that feeling, and we love giving other people that feeling.
Yeah,
now, Mike,
first discovering Burroughs, I had questions like, what other stuff is out there? What other books are out there? This is what I wanted to read when I was a kid, and so I love the artwork. I mean, so I was collecting for the artwork.
Oh God, so much beautiful stuff. Stuff. Robert Roberts says Tarzan must be a public domain now, isn't it? No.
Some of the stories are, but the name is a trademark. So you can you can have a character named Tarzan. You just can't put it in the title of a book.
Right.
Yeah, you can't have any. No movies, no toys.
Yeah, that's all officially licensed. Yeah, it's still an officially licensed character. What I find really interesting is that Conan is still is a licensed character here, but not in Europe, because there was recently a French graphic novel adaptation of Red Nails, and a lot of us, in the comics community, were just like, I mean, I'm a big fan of French comics. It's like I always tell my my fellow comic creators and readers, it's like, okay, I understand you've discovered manga, you've discovered Japanese comics. Now you need to check out the French stuff.
Yeah, because publishing it here in America, thought, well, we'll just call it Sumerian. That way, we're not using Conan. But guess what? Sumerian's also trademarked. So,
really?
There you go. Damn it.
Terms,
so we can't get that in English.
They've got rights from.
Yeah, but we were mad. We were like looking at this at the art was, it's a French comic book, hardcover. The artists aren't working with deadlines. It's done when it's done. So every page is perfect. Nothing looks like it's, rushed through. And then there's like, something that with a greater attention to detail, everything looks spectacular. And and it's like we were just like, so is there going to be an American translation? Nope. Evidently not.
Yeah, they came to the rights, and so they have published them here in America. So, but at first they couldn't. They had to come with rights. They announced it. They took orders, and then hold on, and then they negotiated, got terms. So
they are releasing that Red Nails. Is that actually going to get? Oh, it is.
Yeah, they've done a whole series of books now. People of the Black Circle. I can't think of all the different titles, but they keep doing them like by a different title of one of the stories that was in public domain. But they are licensed, so you can get those now. They are available here in America.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, time to go hunt them up. I
Yeah,
did put
seriously.
I put the link to Amazon in the chat for the Edgar Rice Burroughs Art Chronology because we had a couple of different people asking for a link. So, and
You
by the
also
way,
like
that link
Elton Gray.
is that link is a Critical Blast affiliate link. So if you do decide to buy it, you're helping us out a little bit. In fact, if you don't decide to buy it, but you're going to get something off Amazon later this week, click that link and then get what you want off of Amazon, even if you don't get this, because we still get a referral fee, and it all helps to keep the channel up and running. A couple of bucks a month, basically.
Well, they
is
can
what
click
it
that
amounts
link.
to.
Also, then click on the author's name and discover all the Kursova Wild stuff, and you also get the credit for that too.
This is true.
Just added to my cart. Oh, I mean,
They'll have to
but
get the software on Amazon.
right. What? Although what's see, I feel like an idiot now, RJ. I'm like lecturing Michael about dude, crowdfunding is a thing. It's a great.
Oh yeah,
He's already destroying it. It's like, why didn't you stop me? I feel like an idiot now.
Because I wanted you to pull him back in.
There we go. It's sort of like you're telling somebody about kung fu and how it's a great thing, and they're an 8th degree black belt and you don't know it.
I was gonna say, like you're walking up to some guy and tell him how much you love the television show Kung Fu and how great the actors are and everything, and then somebody walks up and says, "Mr. Carradine, they're ready for you now," and takes him away.
Oh God! But
Gabriel Hernandez, welcome to the chat.
What up, Gabriel?
So, and the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot here, but talk after the show, because I don't know what kind of hoops anybody has to go through to write a Tarzan book these days. It's licensed. It's you got to go through the Burroughs. People get a blessing and an approval and all that stuff, I'm sure. But
see, I don't know that I have the pedigree. Right. I don't know that I have the pedigree, but it also wouldn't hurt just to file a petition.
You don't get what you don't ask for.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. I figured at least Michael would know who to ask instead of having to write blindly to hello, dear sirs at the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate.
Well, after Dad had died, I'd written that one story. I'd lost all contact with him, and I always wanted to do this chronology thing. Well, then I discovered all the UK stuff. There's no good information about that anywhere. So I created a website of telling you about what all the different Tarzan comics were out there and everything like that. And I was like, after I got done with it, I looked at it and said, this would be the perfect pitch for my chronology idea. So I sent it off to a publisher. They said, we replied in a couple of weeks. And I'm okay, well, I'll give our rejection in a couple of weeks. I had, I sent it off at 5 o'clock at night. Next morning, they were like, hey, we want to do a deal, but you got to get permission from the Burroughs people. And I was like, I don't know who to even talk to there anymore. I said, I knew what the main number was. And that was it. So I gave a cold call. Well, they put me right through to the president, Jim Solis. And Jim was understandably like, who are you? What is it you want to do? And I said, well, I created this page called Tarzan's British Heritage on my website. He goes, Tarzan's British Heritage? You did that? He'd already read it, loved it. We had a deal before I got off the phone. So, yeah.
Exactly. You had pedigree. Yeah. They knew that you were legit. Right. Same thing with Joe, Same thing with Joe. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they take a look at my work. But the thing is I'm still I'm just beginning to establish myself as a writer.
One thing they and I are both right now between artists on Beyond the Farthest Star. We're always looking for new artists and this and that, things like that too. So I know they're always looking for new talent. So yeah, you never know.
At the same time, I don't blame them for being picky. I mean, with the John Derek thing was a fiasco. I don't know if anybody remembers that. If you're a Tarzan fan, you try. Of course, you remember because you try to forget it.
What's the John Derek thing?
Yeah. Oh my God! Do you want to take this one, Michael, or shall I?
Yeah, Tarzan the 8-Man with Bo Derek. Actually, I was so disappointed with that Legend of Greystoke.
Yeah, I was too.
It started out so strong, it just fell apart in the second half. All of a sudden,
exactly.
Cousin, it got weird. And I always you took the first half of the Greystoke movie, cut out the second half, then grabbed the last part where Bo Derek shows up and meets Tarzan, and put that at the end of the movie. You put those two together, you would have had a better movie.
Right. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, Greystoke is especially disappointing because it gets so close. but it doesn't know what it wants to be. It's because I think it started out as like a deconstruction of Tarzan,
Well,
and yet
it was going to be the faithful adaptation. And then the director decided he was going to do his personal life story at the end, and started throwing his life in there. He threw away the script. It got so off track that the screenplay writer sued them and forced them to take his name off the credit, and they put the name of the dog on instead. They got to put the dog's name on. I'm not putting my name on that.
I will say this though: when that movie came out, it was I got the novelization, which was of course Greystoke. That was it had the movie cover on the paperback, and I read the paperback. I thought that the story was great. It got me to read Tarzan.
So it was a novelization of the movie?
I don't know if it was a novelization of the movie or if it was the original Tarzan.
Tarzan the Ape Man.
Tarzan the Ape Man, but it had the cover for the Legend of Greystoke.
Right. Yeah. Well, the thing that movie gets so right is the feeling that you get when you read Tarzan the Ape Man. I mean, look, it gets really silly towards the ending.
Yeah.
Right? It gets silly towards the ending with the fire and like Tarzan's just jumping out of a car and rescuing Jane. That stuff doesn't work. But when you get the beginning of that story, you don't feel like you're reading a pulp story. You feel like you're reading a legend. You feel like you're reading mythology. And Greystoke, that first quarter or so, that first act of that movie is the same. It reminded me a lot of the same reverence that was shown towards Superman in the first hour or so of the Superman movie. And Tarzan's very special to me because I'm shocked more people haven't gotten this. A few people have, but Six Gun Gorilla is just Tarzan in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of taking a man and dropping him with some Manjani in the jungle, you're taking a gorilla out of the Congo and dumping him in the old West.
Well, there's two rules in fantastic literature. You got to either take an ordinary person and put him in an extraordinary situation, like a baby in the African wilds, or an extraordinary person in an ordinary situation, like a 6-gun gorilla in the Wild West.
Yep. There you go. Now, y'all hate me for this because y'all are Tarzan purists and such, but I'm a sucker for bad television. If it's like a twisted idea. So back before the CW was back before it was the CW, when it was WB, I religiously watched Greystoke.
Okay.
The one where
Wallace?
The one with Christopher Lambert?
The one where Tarzan was running around New York.
Oh, wait a second. You're talking about I think the was it the Legend of Tarzan? Well, and it was with Joe Lara, right?
I don't know who the actors were. It was right around 2000. Jane was a police detective and Tarzan had escaped.
Tarzan, what? That movie with Joe Lara. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a movie. It was a weekly series. Well, this was a weekly. Now I've got to find out what it was.
Now I know exactly. I'm right there with you. I'm like, now I got to know what this is.
He was in the Tarzan in Manhattan movie, but Lara also did a television series also where you had this French girl playing Jane, but that was kind of set in Africa.
Right. Oh, and then of course, if you're talking about Tarzan in Manhattan, you got to also give a quick nod to Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, and Wolf Larson was the one with the French girl, the Joe Lara. That was like the Chronicles and Adventures of Tarzan that they were doing, where they tried to maintain very religiously to the Burl stories. And I did not get to see very many of those. What I saw was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, we know that. Yeah, there was a German animated movie that came out a couple of years ago, which I have, but I haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
Well, then there was the animated TV show that went a couple seasons also.
What am I looking at, RJ?
This is Tarzan 2003. Was on the WB.
Oh wow!
And
I've never watched this one. I never got to see any of those.
It can stay the hell away from me as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to bring up the synopsis from Wikipedia. NYPD detective. Here we go. NYPD Detective Jane Porter's ordinary life is disrupted when a routine case unexpectedly leads her to John Clayton, who prefers to be called Tarzan. After being proclaimed dead for 20 years, John Clayton was found in the jungles of Africa by his billionaire uncle, Richard Clayton, who is the CEO of powerful Greystoke Industries. Held against his will at his uncle's home, Tarzan escapes and prowls all over the city, helping others in need. Upon meeting Jane, he begins to follow her from her home to crime scenes, simultaneously assisting her with police cases.
Yeah, I remember that. It had Lucy Lawless at the very end of it come in as his cousin.
Yeah.
You know what? That doesn't sound horrible. But I'm looking at this picture, and it looks like a Benetton ad.
Yeah, well, it was 2003. Come on, of course it was.
He did kind
like
of a monkey foo in this one. Yeah, the one Tarzan in Manhattan that he was also in. That was one where Jane was a cabbie, and Tony Curtis was her dad. It was.
Oh wow. Oh God. It was yeah. Oh man.
It's worse than it sounds.
Yeah. Oh God. Although the most frustrating movie ever, I think, for a pulp fan has to be the
You're going to say The Phantom or The Shadow?
No. I've been saying Doc Salem too much. I've been saying Doc Samson too much. But who I'm talking about is Doc Savage. And I can never understand like why there hasn't been a film version of Doc Savage since. It baffles me,
well,
especially after
right.
Especially after like the Raiders of the Lost Ark. There should have been a Doc Savage movie like the next year or two, right? And but there's the one. Well, it was produced by George Powell, and it opens great. It really does. It opens great. And then as you're watching it, it becomes more and more like a TV movie.
Yeah, well, that movie was supposed to have been shot on location. Well, then they cheaped out and said, "Oh, let's just do it on the set." And you can tell.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. The tone's all wrong. Somebody did a fan edit actually that makes it like a kind of fun TV movie. I would say.
Who started that? Ron Eli.
Yeah.
Tarzan on the TV show.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Another Tarzan connection.
Damn, another Tarzan connection.
I watched those. Now this was before I read any of the Tarzan, so I did not like the Ron Eli movies because he was like, he talked like you and I do. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to take care of those poachers. I was like, no, because the real Tarzan was Johnny Weissmuller.
We all know that. We all know that.
He's going to yodel.
The book guy Tarzan was illiterate and he was intelligent.
I know. I
always struggled with the monotone Weissmuller version there. I was just they kind of dumbed him down.
But that was my first exposure.
I grew up in a German American family, so he was like I don't know, a saint.
He's in the African jungle, and he's always going to wrestle. He's always going to wrestle an alligator. That's just a given. But yeah, in the books, I thought it was great.
And he pitched in against the war against the Nazis. Don't forget that.
Of course,
Nazis make war. Now Tarzan make war.
Yeah. When that came out in World War II, what was going on? Audiences just stood and cheered.
Yeah. Just oh man. Yeah. Gotta love. Oh, I love those movies. I grew up with those movies, and the movies are like. I mean, that's the entry point for so many of us when it comes to being fans of a certain kind of literature, certain characters. We maybe find out about them about a movie, then we see them in the comics, and the comics at that point.
The books first.
Oh, for you, it was the books first.
Yeah, that's really? What movies to me just like that.
They were silly.
I had a cousin who actually played Tarzan. Jock Mahoney was a cousin of mine.
No way.
Tarzan's cousins. So.
No kidding. Oh, Jock Mahoney? You're related to Jock Mahoney? That's crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the lineage. My parents told me back when I was a kid. I don't remember it all now, but yeah.
Wasn't Jock Mahoney the first on-screen Tarzan?
He was one of the early talk ones. When they talk ones, color when they went into the CinemaScope and they got real widescreen. Oh, those were beautiful. You could catch them in the widescreen like that. They were impressive. And then after him, you got other guys like Mike Henry. He was another favorite of mine. He was the Tarzan.
Yeah, I liked him too.
When I was kid.
Yeah, he was like a good. Yeah, he was like a good modern Tarzan. That was like
Yeah.
a Tarzan that was like running around in like the 70s,
Yeah,
and they
between
would
those
shoot
two, they
like
had that
in
cartoon stuff.
Mexico.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
see, Ron Eli was a stunt
Yes,
double
Ron Ely.
for Mike Henry.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Mike Henry was supposed to be on the TV show, but he'd been bitten by so many animals. He's like, I'm done. And Ron Eli said, hey, I can do it.
That's amazing.
I'm the stunt guy. I get bit all the time, so I'll take it.
Oh my God. Oh, those. Oh, yeah. That's. I think it was. Who was it? It was the guy who directed the Conan movie. Why am I blanking on
Milius?
his name? John Milius.
Yeah.
Who said that stuntmen are insane. That they're just playing crazy. When he was shooting the Dillinger movie, there was a guy that was that was begging him, please, dude, please let me throw myself down that flight of stairs.
Jeez.
And yeah, it's just like, and he was just like, really, man? Like, no. It was just like, please, oh, you gotta let me do it. And you see it in the movie, and it looks spectacular. Right, because this guy gets to the top of the stairs, and blam, he gets it, and goes rolling down the stairs. But oh god, yeah.
But they know how to do it.
Yeah, but then you find out it's not so much that they're crazy; they're looking for glory.
Yeah.
And for them, that's like a moment of glory if they can pull something like that off, and hopefully not break their damn fool necks.
But you know, Mike, we were talking about how Brian and I were brought into the books by way of the movies first, and you had this happen in the store when Marvel, to kind of bring it back to a comic book level here, when Marvel was putting out their movies, you had people come into the store looking for the comics because they had just seen Captain America, and they said, hey, I want to get this Captain America. And, you had to tell them, like, well, he's right here, but he's a Nazi now.
I know.
Well,
Marvel went
the
to this
biggest
long stint where none of the comic book characters resembled the movie versions. And
Right.
like, okay, I want to get Wolverine. What do you mean he's a little girl now? All right, well,
Exactly.
give me the Hulk. What do you mean it's She-Hulk now? All right, well, give me Iron Man. What do you mean he's a little black girl? All right, well, give
Exactly.
me. They just went through one thing after another.
That's
it.
it.
Give me Captain America. I know Captain America said no, he's a Nazi. And they would just
What about the Hulk? What about the Hulk? He's not Bruce Banner anymore. He's an Asian kid. Okay, Thor. Hook me up with some Thor. There's this thing about Thor now. Thor's a chick.
Not one character. And
not a single one.
Yeah, people.
They lost a big.
Me.
Yeah,
they real, and they walk out angry.
They bungled the biggest marketing opportunity of a lifetime.
Oh, a 6-year, $10 billion commercial for a product they didn't sell anymore.
Yeah.
And had they learned their lesson? Because guess what, Mike? Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, getting ready to come out to theaters. The next big Marvel movie, really, after Black Widow, I guess. What are they doing? Wow. They're killing Doctor Strange. He's not going to be the Sorcerer Supreme by the time the movie comes out.
They just don't want retailers to have comics to sell. I sometimes wonder. I mean, since this whole pandemic, I remember when this pandemic was just getting ready to hit, and I had an article published on ICV2, which is a kind of an industry website. And I said, look, guys, here we're about to have an opportunity that is something we've always waited for. I mean, you're going to have all these people who are going to be quarantining at home. They're going to need something to do. They're going to be bored out of their gourd. They're going to want something to read. This is an opportunity for to get comics front and center, and we this is going to be great. Later that same day, Steve Jeppy releases the news like, we're going to close it all down. So everything shut down for a few months.
Yeah.
And
it was funny how
people have come back fully since then. Now you're seeing Pokemon cards, even sports cards, the deadest market I've ever seen. It's hot as can be because people want something to do at home. And the comic book industry, we'll get to it later. I'm almost wondering,
and it's comforting too.
Every retailer out of business.
And it's comforting too because I find like when I get really depressed or something, it's always the stuff that I loved from my childhood that brings me back, that puts steam in my engine. Always.
Yeah, it was funny how Diamond was like, we're closing down till what was it going to be, August or September?
Maybe October.
Yeah, September. Yeah. They were going to close down to September, October. DC said, you know what, we're going to go with Lunar now. And all of a sudden, Diamond's like, did we say October? No, we can do July. Yeah, July.
Busted.
And, a lot of that wasn't all Diamond's fault. I mean, because they had the quarantine was hitting them. Certain warehouses were getting closed down, other warehouses were not. But then you had a lot of retailers out in California who are getting hit with the quarantines and saying, just shut it all down. We don't want packages showing that we can't sell. Me, I was going fine. I didn't care if they quarantined me or what, because I was going to sell off the internet. I was going to mail my books to the customers, which ended up what I ended up doing all the time now. But there are other ways to stay in business and keep going, regardless of what Mother Nature and the world threw at us.
Absolutely.
And they were like, no, that's too much work. We just shut it all down. And Steve listened to him, and he shut it all down. And he lost it. Result.
At Marvel, they said pencils down. And over in the indie scene, we were just like, all right, let's get to work.
Yeah.
Now's the time. Batten down the hatches.
I mean, they had an army of people ready to work for them who weren't going to conventions. It was always the problem before. Well, they're doing the conventions. They don't have time to do this latest issue. Well, now they were all at home. They needed something to do. No,
exactly.
Cut back on everything. I mean, there are still books that I ordered before the pandemic hit that still have not shipped from Marvel.
Wow.
I mean, they're that far behind. I mean, it's crazy.
And if they think about this in an alternate, I'm sorry, RJ, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go on.
No, and imagine in an alternate universe, Marvel released gave basically when you went to see Iron Man or the Hulk, as you walked in, you got a free comic book with your ticket, right?
Uh-huh.
And when you went to the supermarket, there were nice, affordable $2 at the most reprints of old Marvel comics. And, because, put those in the supermarket checkout lanes, little kids are going to be like, ooh, Captain America, ooh, Black Panther, ooh, the Avengers, right?
Uh-huh.
And they blew it.
Yeah.
They blew it.
And
it was so simple. And they keep blowing it. That's the thing. It's like are they determined?
Books. I don't understand it.
Oh, can I also just really quickly just acknowledge the folks in the chat? Made in Hell, what's up, darling? Robert Roberts is here. Gabriel Hernandez, of course. Just wanted to say yo to everybody that's tuned in.
We have a very active chat tonight. Robert, I can't remember an Arthur and Merlin set in New York series. That would be interesting to me because it would remind me of the movie I wish they would make. That would be Mike W. Barr's Camelot 3000.
Good. Yeah.
Put that on Netflix. Find whoever animated heavy metal and let them do Camelot 3000.
Oh my god! I thought you were gonna say something else, and then I was gonna be like, "No, Camelot 3000."
Yeah, that was
amazing.
That was the first maxi series.
I know.
I mean, the first time when they came out says it's going to be 12 issues and then it's over. You're like, what? It's over? It's not going to be ongoing? No, it's just we'd had miniseries. We'd had 1 through 4 all the time. World of Krypton, World of Metropolis. The Phantom Zone, loved the Phantom Zone. If I start talking about 70s and 80s comics that I used to love, I can be here all night now.
Oh my god! Yeah,
back when it's like the story's going to be told in an issue, and maybe there'll be Clark Kent opens the door to his apartment and he gets a phone call and says, "What?" And the jaw drops, and you've got to come back for the next issue to find the next story. But now it's like, and we've hired on a new writer and he's going to be telling this story. He's got a 100-issue contract and it's going to take all 100 issues to have this dinner.
And we're going back to issue 1. What is it like every year? Always go back to number 1. So it's not like when I was a kid and you came across Thor on the spinner racks and you were like issue 250 or issue 300 or whatever. And you just dove in and you were all right, because if it wasn't a done in 1, it was usually a done in 2. And they would just fill you in, but you could still fall into the story halfway in and just be utterly transported by it.
Yeah. And they're all trying to be so politically correct about everything. I'll tell you a storyline they could do that would just melt the internet if they did it. People would probably be half outraged and half intrigued. Hey, did you hear about the new Black Panther? It's going to be a white guy from South Africa.
Right?
I see the internet now. That's a joke, it's not a real
Of course,
thing.
Yeah, but that's it, Mr. Tierney, you're canceled.
That's it, yeah. But hopefully people talking, but they don't do any surprises anymore.
And then they call us all kinds of horrible names because like we had a problem with like black people or Asians or even like gay characters or that sort of a thing
They've been
in the
comics
past.
forever.
They've been in comics forever.
Yeah.
Right.
There
wasn't never a problem.
Wasn't
one
there?
of the things that really hurt my industry, hurt me personally as my business, was when they made the Alan Scott Green Lantern gay. Now, the reason it hurt it was a local radio station got a hold of that, thought it was the Hal Jordan, Ryan Reynolds character that they were turning gay. I could never get through on the telephone line to say, you got the wrong guy. And they were getting everybody angry. Now, up to that point, Father's Day was one of my big selling holidays.
Oh, no.
I had people, little girls, wives, mothers would buy their boyfriends, collector's gifts for Father's Day, for comics. And I was selling a lot. That was one of my big holidays. Well, all of a sudden, that whole month, I was having a banner year, and it just like the sales chart just went zoom down. And, because everybody's like, and I noticed that every guy who came in with his girlfriend or his wife or someone, and they're all looking around like, I just don't know what kind of place this really is. They wondered if their boyfriends were, closet homosexuals or something like that. And
oh my God,
sort of secret code that had been broken. And
God.
And and from that time period, I only ever sold one Father's Day gift ever again after that, and that was a Darth Vader Galaxy's Greatest Dad mug. A coffee mug. That was it. But it just crashed my sales.
It really hurt your bit because I'm sorry for laughing at first. But it actually hurt your business.
I know, yeah, it hurt my business because I could never get through the radio station. Say you got the wrong guy. It's not how. It's this other guy, and they get everybody in the Central Arkansas all riled up. Like I can't believe they do that to Hal Jordan, and it hurt my business because all my customers, their wives and girlfriends just kind of looked around like, I just don't know about this place. Of course, that still happens anyway. You just didn't throw gas on the fire because every time guys would be in with their girlfriend, you start talking in code, Monty Python quotes, and they're looking at him and look of horror like, oh my God, he's lost his mind, some wives and girlfriends never understood about comics in the first place, and you didn't need to just push them into a direction, say, hey, well, you were always worried about it before. Oh, you're really going to be worried about it now, and that's what happened. This is big time.
And it wasn't even that it was the other guy; it was a reinvention of the other guy, which they've now carried it over. The other guy now truly was gay. They made Alan Scott in canon that way.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was crazy what they did. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, and
rather than create new characters.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the whole point. That's the whole point. If you go to these folks,
that's why they don't do it. That's why they tried to retrocon.
Well, and you've heard the newest one, right? Now, may be true, maybe not, but everything's pointing in that direction. Rumored. Yeah. Tim Drake.
Yes, confirmed.
Okay.
I believe. I mean, unless that was a rumor that just got completely out of control. Yeah. But I believe earlier today I can't say I read the story. I saw the headline because I think at a certain point they're trying to troll us. I think they're trying to get people like us and other people who were former fans and former customers to get talking about it. Right?
Yeah.
Remember how Marvel and DC, they would pull these little gimmicks in the past to get in like the newspapers or on the 6 o'clock news, right? Like Spider-Man and Mary Jane getting married in Yankee Stadium.
Yes.
Things like that, right? Or like the death of Captain America. They're killing Captain America. They're killing Superman. Those were, I'm not saying, those weren't potentially good storylines, but those were gimmicks to like get in the mainstream press to raise awareness of.
But hey, at least when they killed Superman, they killed Superman. Unlike when they said they're going to marry off Batman, and then they don't.
Yes. Yeah. It's.
And that showed the change in the industry as far as how the publishers worked with retailers. When they told me they were going to kill Superman, I believed them. They were truthful about that. They really did. And I ordered so many copies, I thought I've lost my mind. I ordered thousands of copies of this book, and I sold them all out within a couple of hours. I could have sold tens of thousands. I mean, it's a scene out of Night of the Living Dead where every person in the city turned and walked at the same time to the comic book store. You couldn't take the phone off the hook because you'd hit the switch hook just trying to hang it up, or there was already somebody else on the line.
I was there. I was
But
there.
now when they say something like, "Oh, hey, we're going to, Batman's getting married," I didn't even believe them. If they tell me something's going to happen, it's a lie. They'll never do. They always do the fake on you. Where
Bait
if
and
something
switch.
does happen, they won't give you a hint because hey, you might sell more copies. So right there, we can't meet the customer demand when something hot does happen. We don't have the books, and then when they try to get the customers hyped up on something, they don't do it. I mean, they're just frustrating the customers. I think what they're really trying to do is drive them to digital. But all they're doing is they're just chasing them away.
Well, how many
Here's the-
50s? How many
here's the
50s did you get stuck with, Mike?
I didn't get hurt. I ordered like a regular issue. I didn't get burned at all on the Superman.
Okay.
Book. I didn't believe them. I didn't order for it. I just ordered like it was a regular.
You didn't fall for it.
And ordered just right.
You're right. You're like, that's bait.
I
Yeah.
just learned not to believe anything. They hype something, don't believe it. It's like every time they say this is going to be big, big. The last time, I can tell you the exact last time they got me on one like that. And this tells you how long ago it was. The title of the book was Spectacular Spider-Man. They said in this issue of Spectacular Spider-Man, there will be a major turning point in the relationship between Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Months from now, your customers want to go back and see where it all started. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it sounds like pretty important. I better get a few extras. So I watch it go through its 2-month cycle on the shelves, pull them off. I'm saying, I didn't sell one extra copy of this book. What the heck was it all about? So I read the book. Mary Jane took up smoking cigarettes. Nobody cared, Now, if she'd taken up smoking Mary Jane, that might have got a little bit more of a
or slamming heroin like Speedy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
But
go big or go home, guys.
Smoking cigarettes? What year was
didn't move
this?
the needle at all. That was the
What
last
year
time
was this?
got me on a con. If they don't tell me what it is, it's a con. It's like Wolverine. Right. This might be the issue. Wolverine will get his adamantium back. When he finally did get it back, they didn't give us a hint at all. So basically, there's this adversarial situation between us and the publishers where I've just learned don't believe the thing they tell you because they're never going to tell you the truth. They don't want you to succeed sometimes, it seems like.
It's mind-boggling. It's like they're telling, they've literally come out and tell you, don't read our comics. Don't buy our comics. They've literally, I can't, Twitter is generally, let's face it, a cesspool. But if you're an indie comics creator, it's absolutely essential. It's an essential tool for self-promotion. Facebook, not at all. Twitter, yeah, you kind of gotta use it. And it's just mind-boggling to me that people on Twitter who don't read comics, have never cared about comics, like those are the people that they're catering to. That's their audience now.
I used to have like police officers from every jurisdiction around. It's like I probably could have driven 100 miles an hour through any city and never gotten a ticket here in Arkansas because I in every part of the state there. They were all shopping with me. I haven't had a police officer or even military guys shopping with me in years. It's like they all lost interest because, like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, he became a slacker. And what he did with the Mary Jane, it would be immoral for Spider-Man to divorce Mary Jane. So let's have him make a deal with the devil instead. That's not moral. They lost all connection with the readers and they've alienated them. It's like I had one guy in the military when he quit buying all his DCs. He said, "Hey, according to DC, I'm a baby killer. I'm done with them." And they just alienated the readers. They don't give the readers what they want to read, and they treat the readers like bad guys.
And they call it exactly, and then they call them names.
And then they blame them for the book not selling.
Right. If you went to a restaurant and somebody served up dog poo on your plate when you ordered filet mignon, you'd be mad. You might say, you know what? Could you send this back to the chef, and get me what I ordered? And instead, it's just like you're an alt-right Yahtzee.
Well, Kelly Sue DeConnick flat out said, if you
don't read my comics.
Don't read my comics, and then they wonder why Aquaman gets canceled.
Right. Right. Or what's happened to Heavy Metal, at least the American incarnation of it, where they took Tarna, who's normally a character who's dressed like this, and they basically stuck her in a burqa. Right? There's this attitude that that fantasy comics are somehow supposed to be an accurate reflection of reality or the real world, right? It's like, why is this heroine running around? Why is Red Sonja wearing like a chainmail bikini? Because it's sexy, because it's fun, because it's exciting, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just like, yeah, the women look incredible. Have you looked at the guys? Right? They're all rippling with muscles.
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
takes us
it's
all
just,
the way back to something I was saying at the very start of this show. Comics need to be fun for the reader. Just have fun.
Yeah.
We're trying
Yes.
to preach to us and tell us
Yeah.
well, here's how
Yeah.
you should think. Just let's go back to having fun stories, fun books, fun characters.
And it doesn't mean that you, and it doesn't mean that you can't, say, deal with political issues. It doesn't mean that you can't address certain social ills or that sort of a thing. You look at like Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams's Green Lantern, Green Arrow.
Yeah, the hard traveling heroes.
Right? Yeah. Did that perfectly. And I got to know Denny a little bit because he was teaching a comic book writing course at my local community college. Did I tell you about this, RJ?
No.
Yeah, he was teaching a I don't know why, but for some reason I picked up, because normally I just throw these in the garbage. I get in the mail the adult learning program at RCC, my Rockland Community College, right? But for some reason I just like picked it up and flipped through it, and then I see writing comics by Denny O'Neil. I'm like, Dennis O'Neil. I was like, blah, 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 blah. You're like, what? This can't be real. Yeah, he lived like a stone's throw from me, and was just like, yeah, I just want to teach ordinary people how to write comics if they're interested in doing that. And he said, like, I remember distinctly, he was like, look, like, I'm a lefty, right? Which I happen to be too, right? And he said, Chuck Dixon and I couldn't be further apart when it comes to our politics. Neither of them care. It's just like, that guy can tell a damn good Batman story. That guy is a damn good writer, and that's all that anybody cared about. So it's like, then they're up in people's personal politics. That's just rude and disgusting.
Oh, yeah, and
it's
like McCarthyism.
Different opinion, and that's okay. At least
yes.
Well, now you can't have a different opinion because, like, I just found out that this creator said this 20 years ago. Really makes you think.
Yeah, like none of us have ever said stupid shit. Right? Like never. Like none of us have ever stuck our feet in our mouths. No, never.
And they used to say, they'd go back and forth. They'd balance it. And sometimes they would use it for good storytelling. Remember the Justice League issues? All the fights that took place, not between the heroes and the villains, but between the hero and the hero, when Hawkman, the staunch conservative, and Green Arrow, the bleeding heart liberal, would be about at fisticuffs with each other over ideas. And I was like, that's great. That it shows that there's all these ideas in this still group that can work together. Because even though they would fight tooth and toenail over a concept, if something happened, they had each other's back to the death. Yeah.
And I think that's a problem that people on my side of the aisle seem to have these days. Although I think Americans in general, they don't understand the concept of, you know what? Marvel actually did something really beautiful recently. They released like a little trailer for like the next like Marvel Phase 4, and they had audio of Stan Lee, and the audio that they chose was absolutely beautiful and perfect, I thought. That guy next to you, he's your brother. That woman over there, she's your sister. That's the message that I got from comic books when I was growing up.
Yeah, Stan was very open-minded. Yeah, he's way ahead of the curve.
And Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, exactly. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, like really, really leftist, like Jewish dudes from like the Lower East Side, right? But that they understood that you don't fight hate with hate, and that you could disagree with your family, right? But they're still your family. I'm sorry, Michael, you were saying?
No, I was agreeing with you. I was, everybody has different opinions. You don't hate them for having a different opinion.
No.
Embrace
Where's the
it, and
love? Damn it.
the right to have that opinion.
Yeah, and and it really made me sad to see Jerry Conway, like, basically calling for censorship of anime, because he's one of those guys. Because like when I met Denny, when I met other comic book folks that were making comics from when I was a kid, I always make a point to thank them for, like, hey, thank you for making comics that didn't talk down to me. Right? Because the cartoons that were on the air for kids my age were crap.
They were watched it.
They were garbage. Especially, like, I knew they were garbage because they were also still running, like, like the old Warner Brothers cartoons, in some cases the old Max Fleischer Popeye cartoons, right? Although then they stopped running those. Yeah. And exactly. So it's just like, wait, that was the bomb, and it's like, what? It's 50 years later, and this is what I'm getting.
This is the evolution. And well,
right?
look at it another 40 years later. Look what we're getting on Cartoon Network. All this bean mouth stuff from the CalArts style. It's going downhill. It's like,
in
how can we get it out faster and cheaper?
Right, because there was a big, I would say, renaissance in children's television years ago, where you had shows like Samurai Jack and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and stuff like that. And then a lot of it was stuff that I wasn't necessarily into, but I was like, okay, but it's not for me. But it's not for me. And you could tell that the people that were making that had respect for their audience. And that's the thing about these folks, is that they are preaching to us, and specifically, they're preaching down to us.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I resented that shit. As an adult, I still resent it. And, in 6th grade, I had a college-level vocabulary because whenever I sat down with a comic book on the floor, I would like lay down, get the comics out. I would always have the dictionary there. So if Dr. Strange or Reed Richards said something I didn't understand, I needed to know exactly what Dr. Doom just meant.
Oh yeah, I was the same way. I was reading at 4 years old because my barber was giving away. Well, he wasn't giving away. He had comics to read in his shop. For the
wonderful.
kids, because Sparta, Illinois, and they were printing them all there at the time. Every DC and Marvel comic in the world came out of there. But
wonderful.
It's like when I was in 1st grade, I didn't tell anybody I could read because I just thought everybody could do it. I didn't think it was anything special. My teachers do it. They put the big card up there with the great big block letters on it, and they're reading it very slowly. And I'm like, I go, and then I'm like, tying my shoe again or something, or practicing it, or I don't know, picking my nose, whatever. And next thing I know, I'm looking up, and she's like right there in my face. She's like, "Would you like to read to the class?" And I'm like, I don't get the sarcasm, so I just look up at the card, and I'm like, and I remember it. It was like, plants generate energy through a process called photosynthesis, where they take sunlight in through their cells and create chlorophyll. And they're like, zoop, 2nd grade reading class. And I was like, well, yeah, the Flash just fought the Floronic Man, and it was all about that. And, Poison Ivy was growing plants in Gotham that were taking over skyscrapers. And I learned it all from comic books.
Yeah.
And that is an incredibly beautiful and special thing. I'm thinking, like, well, what do kids have now? Well, they've got manga.
Yeah.
Right? But they've got manga. So
they've got manga, and it's selling.
Yeah. And so I like to think they're in good hands. But boy, do you remember, when America could actually, make a comic? But yeah, with the Jerry Conway thing, I was just like, it was so deeply disappointing. It's,
killed Gwen Stacy, but that was about 40, 50 years ago.
Who was this?
Jerry Conway.
Gwen Stacy. And Captain Stacy too. Oh my God.
The thing he's talking about with Jerry Conway is,
though, reading those comics.
Jerry Conway put out a tweet where he was basically scolding manga for drawing their females with breasts. And my first reaction was, aren't you the guy who ran the gag with Wally Wood to see how much bigger you could make Power Girl's breasts every single issue of All-Star Comics until somebody would notice. And finally, Jeanette Kahn said, "Yeah, I've noticed. Stop."
Yes, yes, and people were reminding him of this. I don't know what his, if he if people maybe got him to like think a little more clearly, but it doesn't look good. Although, to tell the truth, somebody from his era, I think you could maybe reason with, as opposed to the Kelly Sue DeConnicks and the Mark Wades. And I am I'm a great admirer of Kurt Busiek. I absolutely love his comic book work. I think Astro City is a joy, and he was a jerk to me, like online for no reason.
He does
for
that to a
no
lot of people.
reason. And no, he has. I've discovered he has a reputation for just not being a cool dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's trying to replace Harlan Ellison.
Well,
Right.
I
thought he's a great guy.
Harlan Ellison was at least sincere. I think he was, I think he was rude because he was opinionated. And did Harlan Ellison have like a bit of an ego issue? Yeah, sure. But at least he could still deliver good stories. And I think Kurt Busiek is still a fantastic writer. But
Avengers.
Oh, I kind of like that one though.
I kind of like that one. I mean, that was also tough. That was just like I wouldn't want to be stuck with that writing job. You know what I mean? That's pretty. I thought it was okay. I mean, it helps that you had like George Perez did the art, right?
Yeah, so, well, yeah, I think I really did enjoy it more for the art. I do remember being a little off put by how easy it was for Superman and Captain America to get aggravated with each other, and that was all just brought on by the anxiety of I'm on the wrong world and it's making me tense. I'm like,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And that's a little
weak. That's a little weak sauce. It's not his best work. Let's just put it that way, right? But I still enjoyed it.
Great, yeah. Nothing wrong with Perez. He did fantastic.
Yeah, and he's a guy that's pieced out on the industry, that just tried working in this new system and was like, this just isn't fun anymore. I think I'll stop showing up for work.
Yeah. Doesn't need to.
Audio doesn't need to. The man's a legend and a superstar, right?
Can he still be commissioned for covers though?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
So.
I'm sure. Oh God. I would love a Perez cover, a Mike Plug cover. Oh, that would be that would be a dream for me. I'm such a big Mike Plug fan, and that's the thing too. We're losing these people. Frank Frazetta's gone. No more work from him. Bernie Wrightson, gone.
That's a shame.
We're going to get the new crop from. We're not going to get the new crop from mainstream. No. I don't think so. We've got some great ones out there. Jay Lee obviously is just killing it all the time. But
Francesco Francavilla, I like a lot.
I'm mad at him.
Oh, for what?
I love his artwork, but I'm mad at him because
what did he do?
He did not finish Betty R.I.P. for Afterlife with Archie. It's been 10 years. I've been waiting for the closure to that story.
And Afterlife with Archie was the bomb. It was like the best horror comic of that year, easily.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden people were reading and talking about Archie. I'm like, seriously? Because I picked up the first one. I was like, oh yeah, I am so into this now.
Oh God, I was like, do I really need another zombie comic? And I was like, then I got to like Zombie Jughead. I'm like, yeah, it turns out I did.
I was like, and nobody was safe. You didn't know who was going to die. They were killing people right and left in that thing.
Yes.
Like, Archie's dad died, and I almost cried. It was like,
dude, it had heart.
Yeah,
that's the thing that's missing from so much work. Like, nobody can ever accuse. If somebody wants to accuse me of being a lousy writer, fine, but don't ever accuse me of being insincere and not putting like my heart into what I'm doing. And that had a lot of heart. The scene where Archie's dog saves him.
That's the one I was talking about. Yeah, from his zombie dad.
that's the kind of thing that will make a man cry.
Yeah, it was touching. And then to find out, that the whole thing was kicked off by a dead dog, because it was Hot Dog got hit by a car,
right?
And Jughead brings him to Sabrina because Jughead knows that Sabrina's a witch,
right?
And she's, her aunties say, well, there's nothing we can do for him because he's already dead, and she's like, hey, meet me out back, blah blah blah, and turns out she's done forbidden magic with the Necronomicon to returning from the dead, but Hot Dog is, zombie Hot Dog bites
Not
Jughead.
Himself.
Yeah. And there's this curse that's been released, and Sabrina's sucked into this H.P. Lovecraft-like world for a banishment for a year. And it's like Moose, Mr. Weatherby, Miss Grundy, they're falling like flies, and turning into zombies.
Yeah. And here's the thing. It was played completely straight.
Yeah.
Right. Which is something I tried to do with Six Gun Gorilla too. And it was played straight because the person that wrote it, I can't remember the name of the writer.
Robert Aguirre Sacasa.
There we go.
Who left to go write Riverdale. Because when that stopped,
is that why
Riverdale.
split?
Yes. He's the showrunner for Riverdale.
No kidding. I need to give that another look. But yeah, what was great about it was that it was played completely straight because they understood the story's more fun when you play it straight. Because there's so many comics these days, they're always winking at you and like letting you know it's like, hey, we're in on the joke, rather than just being poker faced and to me, you play it straight, it's just more fun.
Yeah, they had that, and they had chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and they just dropped the ball on both of them.
I'm sorry to hear that. Because I was following both of those books for a while, and they were very good. They were very
Amazon
good.
still lists the trade paperback for Betty R.I.P. With a date yet to be announced, because the rumor is that that they will at least release the trade paperback with the final issue. But it's not there yet. It's not done. It's been almost a decade. It's like,
right.
So
it's discouraging.
But
that's we know indie comics creators like myself would not have this incredible opportunity that we have right now if they hadn't dropped the ball so bad.
True enough. Well, guys, we've been at this for over 2 hours.
I know. Damn.
So, I think it's time to wrap it up. If I did not put the link to Six Gun Gorilla in the description, I'm going to make sure I do that. But I'm pretty sure I did. I try to put the links for all the LCS Guys stores as well. And Michael, you don't have a link, so because you're doing the.
You connect with my Wildstar, really find out all about my Wildstar books.
I'll do that. I'll do that right after this, and I'll make sure that it's on my boilerplate for all the LCS Guys shows moving forward.
And also you gotta mention like the Burroughs thing that I just put in my
That's always one of my top hit pages there.
Oh man.
So I will after the show I will do a group DM to Brian and Dave so I can get you guys talking. I'm getting books in the store, and I will DM you Michael's email address because Michael's sanely not on Twitter.
Yeah, stay away. Stay away, Michael. Stay away.
So that you guys can talk about, what it would take to have a Six Gun Gorilla Tarzan thing. Maybe Michael can put you on the path to. Yeah, well, you said it. So that that's what I do when I have people on my show. Brian is like, crazy ideas. Let's make them happen.
Yeah. So no, I'm all about that. So
I just want to say thanks once again for another LCS Guys show in the can.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here. You made it a lot of fun. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you being here as well. We don't have a show without you. So as always, we just hope you had a blast.